On the day of marrying the female lead, the system detected that his affection for me had reached 100. Then it issued an order for me to cruelly abandon him and make him feel hatred. On the wedding day, the groom, who had already taken his vows, chose to flee. The female lead will probably remember this for life. This should make her hate me to the bone. In the second-floor room, I took off my suit and changed into casual clothes. Quietly slipped out of the wedding venue through the back door. Arrived at the destination. Phone rang. I took a deep breath and answered the call for the experiment. "Where are you?" The woman's voice was wrapped in anger, cold and gloomy, almost squeezed out through clenched teeth. Even just coming through the phone, her voice exuded immense rage, giving me the illusion that Muwan Cloud was right in front of me. That oppressive pressure, the blazing fury, and those eyes red as if about to drip blood, clearly emerged in my mind. I closed my eyes nervously, cursed at the system. "Damn it, are you sick? Why are you broadcasting the scene to me?" The system cleared its throat, silently withdrew the image. "Is that wild woman talking right next to you?" My phone's GPS was blocked by some damn thing. Muwan for the time being, really couldn't find where I was. When did he, hiding it from me, get to know such a formidable person? How dare he slip away with that wild woman? Muwan's fingers tightened. The edge of the phone began to crack. Her eyes were icy and piercing. The morbid impulse was about to break through the confines. Her fingertips trembled slightly, mixed with rapid, heavy breathing. Her mind was full of thoughts of catching him back. How to make me behave. Maybe just lock me in a cage. Since the groom refuses to play his part, he'll just be kept as a kept man. The woman's voice was wrapped in anger, cold and gloomy. Her kept man indeed shocked her. If his legs won't stay put, tie them up. If he acts up again, break his legs. I was indeed a bit scared by her. After a long pause, my expression returned to calm. Anyway, with the system here, Muwan can't catch me. But who is this wild woman she keeps mentioning? I thought carefully. It seemed the system said it would leave some weak evidence. Just as I was pondering, the system spoke up. I used some bonus points, and materialized a hair clip. It happened to fall at the door. The female lead will see it as soon as she enters. I was momentarily speechless. No wonder Muwan mentioned that. I cleared my throat, clenching my fist. "Muwan, I did run away from the wedding. I'm the one who dumped you. I'll be honest with you. From the start, I was just playing around by chasing you. Never thought I'd actually succeed, so I'll keep playing. After all, it doesn't cost me anything. But you really went too far. If you just wanted to date, fine. But you had to drag marriage into it. Huh, Muwan, you don't really think that I'm hopelessly in love with you, do you? Those sweet words are just for listening. I shouldn't take them seriously." I paused, but the heart-wrenching words continued, like countless sharp little knives, piercing straight into the pain. "Muwan, I never loved you from the start. Now I'm tired. This game is over. I treated everything between us as a play. I was just the spectator enjoying the fun, while he became the prisoner trapped inside. He knew from the beginning. The story of him professing love for me had no sincerity at all. He figured it out long ago, from the moment I started getting close to him. At first, he just wanted to kill time, watching the little liar perform. Gradually, his heart truly fell for it. Knowing full well I was deceiving him, he never questioned my motives, only hoping I would keep lying, just let things stay as they were. It was never my superior acting skills, but his willingness to indulge. But now I want to leave. What am I supposed to do? He just wants me, after all. Seconds later, Muwan's voice trembled slightly, hoarse like a cold wind piercing into the car. "Come back." I'll pretend I didn't hear any of that. I spoke, my voice calm. "I'm at the airport. Dear passengers, the plane is about to take off." A glint of light sank in the woman's eyes. "Gu Shiryan, have you considered the consequences? So annoying. I've already said I don't want you. That's it. Anyway, I can't stand you anymore. I've had my fun. Now I just want to get away from you." I kept provoking him. Muwan stood up. Ling Chenfeng beside him immediately understood and left. "Gu Shiryan, I don't mind if you don't love me. Just stay by my side, and nothing will happen. Whatever you want, I can give it to you. Except leaving me. Even actors know to play a role for a lifetime. You should be more professional. Why not keep deceiving me? Why, of all times, did you choose to expose the lie on our wedding day? making his deep affection look so pathetic. The little liar wants to leave without a trace. It's not that simple. Mu Wanning loosened his palm. The boutonniere with the groom's emblem slowly fell. The blood from his palm dripped onto the ground. In response, a faint sneer came from the opposite side. A casual, disdainful tone. "I'm not interested, Mu Wanming. You're really boring." That was absolutely vicious to the extreme. A single, understated sentence turned him into a joke. His humble plea was never taken seriously by the boy. Now the person has already arrived at the airport. Resolute, unwilling to give him any chance, Mu Wanning drove straight to the airport. His delicate features were covered in frost, anger burning in his eyes. Red blood vessels crowded into his eyeballs. A single glance was enough to intimidate. Mu Wanning's aura didn't seem like someone coming to retrieve a person, but more like someone coming to annihilate. If the boy were caught, who knows how severe the punishment would be. The icy aura around him sent chills down one's spine, as if the blood itself would solidify. A dozen minutes away, Mu Wanning arrived in 9 minutes. Along the way, only the fleeting shadows of cars were seen, even for Chen Lin, who had been driving for over a decade. The wind could not catch up. Directly rushing towards the airport entrance, Mu Wanning's mind kept replaying the boy's heart-wrenching words. Lighting a cigarette, smoke rings slowly exhaled from the mouth. The woman deliberately concealed the eerie gloom around her. The anger in her eyes had turned into endless sighs. The car door slammed loudly. He suddenly strode into the airport, the corners of his mouth slightly lifted. The story feast, "I'm coming, catch you." Mu Wanning had already descended, stopping the beautiful aircraft about to take off. Searching one by one, until the end, he didn't see the boy's figure. Not even passenger information. He was tricked by me again. Check for me, domestically and abroad, how many people are filming. The people following Mu Wanning bowed their heads, not daring to look directly at his face. The deserted airport could almost be described as oppressive. Passing pedestrians didn't even dare to make footsteps. Mu Wanning's angry figure stood at the boarding gate, fists clenched tightly. There were still wounds on his hands. This little liar couldn't be caught. He wished he could smash the airport. Everything I said was true. I don't love him. Just playing around. Are you satisfied now? Seeing him fall madly in love with me, he began to stop pretending. But I don't love him. He understands all this. But he cannot resist. So I'll drop the act too. It won't kill him anyway. But this time, I'll drive him crazy. This little liar is here to take my life. Mu Wanning's pupils turned bloodshot. Her heart felt like ice needles piercing it inch by inch. The pain was unbearable. How dare he flee the wedding, and humiliate that little liar? How bold, but how can I not have fun with it? I haven't toyed him to death yet, so how can it end? It's fine. Just catch him and lock him up. He'll obey sooner or later. And I knew Mu Wanning would definitely chase him to the airport. The clue was actually intentionally leaked by me. The purpose was to lure him in. I took the water route. Stop at a small town without delay. Took a car along the road. Arrived near a bustling tourist attraction. Wait until I wake up the next day. I heard the local airport was sealed off. Even trains and buses couldn't escape. The outside said they were searching for a wanted criminal. Listening to the chatter around me, I couldn't help but smirk. Wanted criminal? Is there a wanted criminal as handsome as me? At most, I'm just a heart-stealing scumbag. The time has come to fake my death. The system told me to rent a boat. That boat for tourists. It would capsize in the middle of the lake. Then I would have an accident. After finding the boat, I rented one, and gave the captain a tip. He cheerfully followed my arrangements. I wore a hat and looked around. This might be my last sight of this world. My parents' smiling faces flashed in my mind. I vaguely recalled. They were so happy at the wedding. Their care and concern for me. I had drawn a lot of love from them. But in the end, I am not their son. My body was covered with large lotus leaves, tears streaming down my face. At the last moment, my reluctance to leave this world was all too clear. I too have given my emotions. The system sighed, a little curious. It asked if I had ever liked the female lead. Actually, most of my successful conquests were due to Mu Wanning's willingness. She had fallen long ago. I lowered my eyes. My expression shadowed. After a moment, I answered, no. I am not from this world. The only thing I can do is stay true to myself. Mu Wanning is such an outstanding woman. Countless men line up for her. To avoid falling into the trap, I had to remind myself over and over that it was just acting, not getting immersed. I've read many novels like this. If a conqueror falls for the female lead, they are destined for a bad ending, they will eventually leave. So let me take this heart away. Without pain. The system said nothing more. Soon, the boat reached the middle of the lake. A strong wind kicked up. Lotus leaves fluttered wildly. At that moment, I finally turned on my phone, which had been off for a long time. Sure enough, as soon as it powered on, Mu Wanning's call came in. Above the roar of the wind, I could clearly hear the anger in her voice. Where are you? Come back now. Mu Wanning couldn't sleep all night. Sat on the floor, her hair tipped slightly messy, guarding the carefully prepared, bright red wedding chamber in Iyuan. The wounds on her hands had scabbed over, while her groom had not returned all night. My whereabouts were deliberately hidden by the system. Human resources were powerless against this. The people sent out were conducting large-scale searches within every city, but I had simply vanished. No one knew where I was. Mu Wanning dialed my phone again and again. When the battery died, she switched to another. The entire night, more than a dozen phones piled up on the floor. Couldn't find the person, couldn't hear my voice. His heart was on the verge of breaking, but right at that moment, the boy's phone finally connected. Mu Wanning's low voice couldn't muster the courage to avoid losing contact again. He directly and roughly ordered me back. When he came to, the boy's face appeared before him again, his fingertips trembling slightly. Voice low, as long as you come back, I won't hold it against you. The story feast, I only hope you can come back. No matter how effortlessly he navigated the business world, at this moment he could only humbly lower his head. Chu Xing offered his pride himself. As long as you come back, I'll let you play again, okay? Hearing the woman's humble plea, my heart tightened, as if pierced by a needle to the very core. He had truly fallen in love with me, but I was just a liar deceiving his true feelings. I'm sorry, Mu Wanning. The wind grew fiercer. The ship was already shaking out of control. That black vortex was like a monster devouring people, waiting for the boy to jump in. I hardened my heart and coldly laughed, remembering Mu Wanning. Even if I die, I am unwilling to return to your side. The words came to an abrupt end. Mu Wanning's heart sank heavily. Those beautiful eyes suddenly tightened, as if about to lose something. His throat became dry. The blood in his whole body seemed to freeze. Only hearing the chaotic wind and noise from the other end, and an unusually clear sound of falling into water, I fell into darkness, submerged deep in the water, feeling everything become light and endless. Congratulations, host. The female lead's damage value has reached 5 stars. Successfully opened the time passage. I closed my eyes. My hands slowly dropped, sinking straight into the lake bottom where sunlight never reaches. Mu Wanning, I wish you happiness. After floating for who knows how long, when I regained consciousness, I found myself in a familiar white room. Just as I was surprised, the contract paper I had signed before reappeared. Everything was so familiar. System, congratulations, host, mission completed successfully. You have successfully left the world of the novel. My heart was filled with surprise and joy. The homecoming I had longed for was finally about to come. I asked the system, can I go back now? The system replied, yes. Just tear up this effective contract, and you will return to reality. Everything has settled. I was overjoyed when I heard it. What I had been waiting for so long had finally come true. Completely forgetting that paranoid woman. What kind of torment he was going through at that moment. After my phone signal was cut off, Mu Wanning quickly contacted the police station. If anyone reported a case, please notify him immediately. My phone probably fell into the lake with me. He vaguely heard someone mention the word lake. Immediately sent people to search for lakes, confirming them one by one. When he received the news of my accident, Mu Wanning's whole body was filled with gloom, exuding a sense of menace. He watched the surveillance footage of me being swept into the lake by the wind. When the water surface calmed, only then did everyone snap out of it. They jumped in to rescue me. The rescue team spent a lot of time, but still couldn't find the body, so they had to confirm the identity and contacted the parents at the same time. Upon hearing the news, Lin Muyun fainted on the spot. Qi Xinhai was trembling all over. They didn't know why I suddenly fled the wedding, nor did they understand why I would drown out of nowhere. Their minds went blank for a moment. They could only pray that I would return safe and sound. My parents' faces looked haggard. At the same time, Mu Wanning had already arrived at the small town. When he arrived, the search and rescue team was conducting the search. The officer who heard the car sound and was recording looked up. Soon, the scene was surrounded by more than a dozen cars. Strong mercenaries jumped out of the cars, holding guns fearlessly even under the gaze of the police. Although it was still 5 p.m. when I fell into the lake, only an hour had passed. The sky had already turned completely overcast. The woman's face was as cold as ice. The oppressive aura around her was suffocating. Her black dress fluttered defiantly in the wind. He rushed over hastily. The police recognized the woman in front of him as Mu Wanning. A wave of panic surged in his heart. Shouldn't he be out hunting down the runaway groom? How could he have time to come here? Thinking of the wanted posters everywhere. Could the boy whose fate was unknown be his groom? Sweat instantly rolled down his forehead. The young master of the Gu family had been through rough treatment here. How could they bear the brunt of his anger? Where is Chen Feng? Chen Feng lowered his head, his voice trembling. Still searching. Mu Wanning's expression grew darker. The rage surging in his chest was about to spiral out of control. He grabbed his collar. What do you mean by still searching? My Gu Shiyan could never be dead. He had already learned the news when he arrived. If the person isn't found in an hour, the surveillance by the lake only captured the moment I fell into the water. Anything further was invisible. Mu Wanning repeatedly scrutinized that footage. I struggled a few times, then weakly sank to the bottom. Her last words echoed in his ears. I would rather die than return to your side. How could he die? He absolutely cannot die. Mu Wanning's face was fierce and terrifying. The meaning in her eyes surged like a tide. The police standing nearby couldn't help trembling, truly afraid that this woman would snap, and press the gun against her own neck. He heard her order, drain the lake. Search carefully. He didn't believe I would leave him. Even in death, we must die together, right? Since the moment I escaped, he had completely fallen into madness. In the white room, I watched the contract floating before me, glimmering with golden light. My eyes lit up. Just as my hand reached out, I heard the system call out, "Host, Master." My hand trembled slightly. What's wrong? But he remained silent. I waited a few seconds. My eyes instantly dimmed. I crumpled that contract. In an instant, shreds slipped through my fingers, fell to the ground and disappeared. Everything seemed to play in reverse. But I had come here again, only to return to the original world. This door suddenly appeared before me. I had a strong premonition. As long as I opened it, I could successfully go back. My hand slowly gripped the doorknob. Just as the door cracked open, the dazzling light spilled down, bright and farewell. In my mind, the system's unique farewell grew faint. It seemed something was disappearing. I froze. My steps felt as heavy as 1,000 pounds. My nose stung. But no matter how reluctant I was, I had to go back and face my world. A fresh yet familiar goodbye. The system's door closed completely. My figure vanished into the light. When I regained consciousness, my whole body felt immensely heavy. My fingertips moved slightly. I slowly opened my eyes, and was caught off guard by a scream. The nurse met my gaze, startled half to death by my sudden awakening. The thing in hand fell to the ground. He hurriedly ran out of the ward. Ghost. I was half sitting up. My body was attached to various life support instruments, not yet removed, due to long-term lack of sunlight. My complexion had a sickly pallor. Long unkept hair was messy, blinking eyes that hadn't yet adapted. I realized I was back. Emotion surpassed everything. My future was about to begin. Thinking of this, I was filled with excitement. Laughed out loud in excitement. Soon my ward was crowded with doctors. Even the director was alerted. They exclaimed it was a medical miracle. A vegetable who had slept for a long time would wake up without any warning. Afterwards, I underwent various tests. All proved that vital signs were completely normal. This meant I was really completely fine. On the day of discharge, I looked at the long unseen sky. The corners of my eyes were slightly moist. Waiting ahead was the director mother of the orphanage. I excitedly threw myself into her arms. Everything that happened these days reminded me. I really came back. Returned to my world. Here there is no Heiganzi, nor Mu Wanling. Alright. We hire lab coat, great life great. Finally woke up. Shilma gently stroked my hair. Her slightly weathered face was covered in wrinkles. Her smile was sincerely happy for me. I originally lived in a rented house. After the accident, the original landlord took my belongings. and stored them here with Shuma. The car outside waited for a long time, couldn't help honking. Shuma seemed to wake up and called me to get in. Gushian, your old room is still here. You can stay there without worry. I looked at Shuma's slightly weathered face. My voice slightly choked. Director Mother, I'm back. Shuma saw that I was feeling some grievance. Patting my shoulder lightly, she said, that driver who caused the accident. Had an accident a few months ago, and is now in prison. That's his just desserts. After learning this result, I felt somewhat relieved. Clenching my fist, I really wanted to break in and hit him. Does he know that by this one act, I lost everything? Perhaps I was a bit tired. I slowly closed my eyes. In the dream, I heard a woman's angry roar. Story, I will never let go. I woke up with a start. My fingertips were trembling. I was really scared by that sound. The woman's roar carried danger and pain. So heavy it almost made it hard to breathe. Shuma saw how panicked I was. Hastily patted my back. Softly said, nothing serious, Gushian, you had a nightmare, right? My heart trembled. Her voice in the dream was quite eerie. It could be considered a nightmare. I turned to look out the window. Still the familiar scenery. My tense heart relaxed a little. I gradually realized I was actually too nervous. Now back in my own world. Even if Muwaning resents me no matter how much, she can only hide that hatred in her heart. I am just a word that occasionally surfaces in her heart. But one day, that place, will be smoothed over by her destined male lead. On the other side, the lake water has been drained. Many people are searching for my figure. Among them, a striking woman. Her elegant figure slightly disheveled. His eyes are as red as dripping blood. He hasn't slept in days since I fled the wedding. Stubbornly searching for me alongside the rescue team. The main team has scoured the entire lake. Strangely, they haven't found any trace of me. At this moment, Muwaning suddenly crouches down, her fingers holding a thumb ring. This is a black jade ring he specially had resized. The thumb ring and his jade ring are a pair. His palm is clenched tight, blood-red palm blending with the black and white jade. The woman chuckles lowly, looking into the distance. Yet her eyes seem unfocused. She slowly rises, her skirt fluttering in the wind, stained with some dirt. Muwaning radiates an eerie aura. A moment later, she asks hoarsely, are you sure there is no trace of her at all? Yes, Muwaning lowers her head, change the location and continue searching. Just as her men were about to act, a police officer cautiously says, Miss Mu, a few years ago, a similar strange incident happened in this fox den. A man fell in. Finally, after draining the lake, they still couldn't find him. After 3 years, they had no choice but to declare him dead. Sir, perhaps before he could finish. Suddenly, his head is pressed against a cold gun muzzle. His eyes widen as he meets the woman's bloodshot eyes. His knees tremble involuntarily. At this moment, Muwaning is like an enraged wildcat. The fierce aura was terrifying. Shenzhou was even shrouded in thick red mist. Unable to disperse, unable to retreat. He couldn't tolerate that word. The words I said kept echoing in his ears. The echoes stung his nerves. Yet he kept repeating my heartbreaking words. What's all this about death? Even if he dies, he must be by his side. Muwaning was almost out of control, could shoot at any moment, and no one around dared to stop him. Even his mercenaries had already raised their guns, waiting for orders. When the police station leader was about to faint from the pressure, the muzzle of the gun opened. His knees instantly went weak, gasping heavily. Large beads of sweat poured down his forehead. He didn't know what had come over him just now. In a moment of impulse, he lost his mind. He actually tried to persuade Muwaning to accept this as accidental death. Muwaning withdrew the gun in his hand. His voice was icy cold. Find the place where he had the accident. I don't want to see blood. My husband was careless and suffered a life-threatening accident. I don't want more rumors from the outside world. His story won't end with no body found alive or dead. He must be hidden. Since he loves to play, then he will see it through. Of course, those who helped me escape in connection with this matter, he will not let a single one go. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. I had completely adapted to my current life. Through an interview, I became a teacher at a teaching institution. It was a bit far from the orphanage, so I rented a house nearby. After the internship, the monthly salary was over 4,000. Although it wasn't considered wealthy, I was very content. When I heard the notification sound on my phone, I immediately opened the text message. Your ICBC card account has received 4,000 yuan. The first month's salary had arrived. I walked into a store to replenish some daily necessities. When I was about to check out and leave, I suddenly heard a voice, "No matter where you run, I will find you." This voice was too familiar, carrying a terrifying, death-seeking feeling. Every word struck my heart like a heavy hammer. I froze. The fingers holding the items trembled slightly. My spine felt icy cold. I looked around but didn't see anything unusual. I nervously stared at the clerk, pulling at the corner of my mouth. "Did you hear any sound just now?" The clerk, who was tidying the desktop, looked at me blankly, shook his head. My heartbeat calmed down a bit. Maybe I misheard. I quickened my pace home carrying the items. In the small bedroom, I lay in bed, played on my phone for a while, and then prepared to sleep. Soon after, my eyes were tightly shut, my toes curled up tightly, as if I had fallen into a nightmare. In the dream, I saw myself walking dazedly into a small room. The scene inside was exactly the same as when I left. The bedroom with the suit removed. The only change was, I saw myself caught and brought back by Mu Wanlin. Standing at the door, I met the gaze of the woman sitting by the wedding dress, looking depressed. Just one look made my legs go weak. That violent look seemed to want to tear me apart. I turned around to flee, but just when I thought I could escape, within a step of the door, suddenly my wrist was tightly grabbed by someone. He held me very tightly. I couldn't break free. Although she was a woman, her strength was surprisingly great. I felt like my wrist was about to be pulled off. As the door completely closed with a sound, his cold low voice fell, "Why are you running? Not satisfied? Haven't I been good enough to you? I beg you, and you still want to run? So playful, why not play thoroughly?" His completely icy tone was like a snake spitting its venom at you. He was filled with rage. Especially the sudden drop in temperature made me shiver from cold. "No, Juan, you didn't give me a chance to speak." He stood by the bed. His narrow phoenix eyes were filled with anger. His jade-white hand slowly unbuttoned my clothes. He saw my strong and sturdy physique. His fingers moved without hesitation to the belt buckle. Facing such a dangerous woman, suddenly I turned to flee, but he grabbed my hair, then forcefully dragged him underneath him. Mu Wanning did not let go of my hair. Instead, he stared at me for a few seconds. I saw an extra silver whip in his hand. His gaze was cold. Meeting my dilated pupils, he swung it mercilessly down. Then a sharp pain hit my back. I couldn't help but tear up a bit. A blood mark instantly appeared. The woman leaned down. 000. Suddenly, a ringing sound woke me from my dream. I opened my eyes. Large beads of sweat were rolling down my forehead. I gasped heavily, still shaken. Looking around, it was still that small, cramped room. My tense expression slightly relaxed. Having been away for so long, why does Mu Wanning still haunt me? Except for the period right after I came back. I hadn't dreamed of him for over half a year. This dream filled me with a deep-seated panic. As if I was living it all over again. I stared blankly at the floor, lost in thought, then snapped out of it. I got ready to go to work. Starting another day as a wage earner. After work, I bought some things at the supermarket, planning to go back to the orphanage to see Mother Dean. Coincidentally, I didn't have to work tomorrow. When I arrived at the orphanage, I saw a group of men in black standing at the entrance from afar. Mother Dean was frowning, shooing people out. "What's wrong?" I ran to Shilma and supported her. Shilma was obviously very angry. She said to the men over there, "This is disgraceful. Tell your boss not to come again." The men looked somewhat impatient. They exchanged glances. Seeing that Shilma's attitude was the same as before, one of them stubbornly said, "I'll give you at most another week to think it over. If you still don't agree by then, old lady, don't blame me." He glanced aside, at me, who was watching them warily, tall and strong. His tone softened slightly, "Boss. The terms in this regard can still be discussed. Our boss is not someone to let go easily. You consider it again." Shilma ignored them. She pulled me in and closed the door without hesitation. She seemed a bit regretful, feeling that I shouldn't have run into these people who are unreasonable and pestering. "When you meet them later, remember to ignore them." He grabbed my wrist. His eyes still carried anger. To prevent Aunt Shio from worrying, I nodded and agreed. Then I asked, "Aunt Shio, what did they come for?" Aunt Shio sighed. Her brows furrowed. "There's a big boss, who wants to build a commercial street nearby. He wants to demolish our orphanage. I disagree. So they harass me every few days. Looking at the worried Aunt Shio, I softly asked, is there anything I can help with? Aunt Shio held my hand and said, you, just don't worry about it. If I don't agree to them demolishing it, these people wouldn't dare act recklessly. In a few days, they might give up the idea. He said that, but my heart was still uneasy. I hope those people will behave and not come again. The next day, I planned to enjoy my holiday, but was called in by a colleague's phone call. They asked me to cover a class. Of course I was unwilling, but he said they would pay extra. I touched my pocket, and still went to the colleague's place dutifully. The colleague who came back to work, to thank me, insisted on treating me to a good meal. I couldn't refuse his enthusiasm. After the meal, we took a taxi back. The colleague leaned by the window, holding his phone, squinting at the screen. A few minutes later, he frowned, asked why it hasn't updated yet. Suddenly, he turned his head and glanced at me, reading a novel. I told you, I've been following this book. The male lead's name is the same as yours. I was a bit puzzled, just a coincidence. Since I had nothing to do, I also got a bit interested. I picked up my phone and asked, what's the name? Let me see. As his clear voice fell, I didn't hold my phone steady and it dropped to the ground. I looked startled. My colleague bent down to help me pick up my phone. He even kindly searched for that novel and handed it to me. This one, but I said, this description of the male lead, it's exactly like you. I even suspect someone around us wrote you into it. But do you have a wife named Mu Wanning? I swallowed hard. My eyes widened. I felt like this world was a bit surreal. Never mind, besides the male lead having the same name as you, and similar looks, there's no overlap, probably just a coincidence. After all, handsome guys all share the trait of being good-looking. This is probably just the author's wild imagination. It also says the male lead got hit by a car into a novel. He has to win over the female lead, and only when his affection reaches 100 can he return to the original world. Isn't that nonsense? At that moment, I was so nervous my forehead was sweating. My eyes showed confusion. My head felt like it had been struck by lightning. I quickly put my fingers away. Every word I heard seemed unreal. I lowered my head and carefully checked the novel's synopsis. When I saw the male lead was Gu Shiyan, and the female lead was Mu Wanning, my brain almost stopped working. I double-checked that the book title was correct. The shock in my eyes was about to overflow. What's going on? Then I flipped through a few pages and read. Cold sweat broke out on my back. The plot in the book was roughly the same as what I had experienced, except the opening background changed to the male lead having an accident, reason for crashing into a book, which covered up the truth of him becoming a vegetable, facing the risk of never waking up. The rest of the story was exactly what I had been through. As I flipped to the back, my trembling fingers gradually went numb. My mind was in chaos, stimulated by the plot in the book. My brain nerves ached one by one. I heard a buzzing in my ears. I couldn't bear it, my vision went black, and I fainted. When I woke up again, I was in the hospital. The first thing I saw was the white ceiling. My head didn't hurt as much as before. It had returned to normal. My colleague saw me wake up, and breathed a huge sigh of relief. Thank goodness. You finally woke up. I had my phone in my hand. You suddenly fainted, you scared me to death. The doctor said you had a fever. Once this 4-drip is done, you can go home. My child is fussing, so I'll head off first. He looked clearly anxious. I nodded and said thank you. I'll transfer the medical bill to you later. Drive safe. The colleague smiled and replied. The colleague looked at me with concern. Are you okay on your own? I shook my head and smiled. Don't worry. Send me a message when you get home. Seeing my complexion return to rosy, the colleague felt relieved and walked out of the ward. At night, I was the only one in this 3-bed ward. It seemed exceptionally quiet. I stared blankly at the remaining half-bottle of medicine. I looked at it for a long time. Suddenly, I recalled the novel that had upset me in the car. I lay on the bed and continued reading its contents. It felt like reliving my own experience. Halfway through, I felt a chill down my spine, except for the beginning, which offered a way out. Everything else was my most genuine experience. And the title of this book, wasn't it the very same one I had originally transmigrated into? Why was the title the same, but the protagonist had become me? Everything seemed eerily strange. A vague unease stirred in my heart. The day after I was discharged from the hospital, feeling irritable, I got off work. and went to the supermarket to buy a few bottles of liquor. Back home, I curled up on the sofa and opened the liquor. Then I continued reading the latest chapters of that book. As I read on, I finished the latest chapter. When I swiped forward, I found there were no more. I had only one bottle left, and I finished it too. My head began to feel dizzy. I leaned back on the sofa and stared at the ceiling. I closed my eyes and rested for half an hour, then opened them. I almost jumped up in fright. I quickly touched my forehead, puzzled about what was happening. No fever, yet I was having hallucinations. On the pure white ceiling, there actually appeared a chubby, white dumpling with arms and legs. Its eyes were like sesame filling, but that wasn't the key point. The key point was that it was smiling at me. It was so strange it was hard to believe. I swallowed my saliva. I looked around to confirm it was my own home. Then I rubbed my eyes and opened them again. That thing was still there. It even slowly flew toward me. I felt like I was seeing a ghost. I silently thought to myself, I haven't done anything bad. Frightened, I immediately ran to the bathroom to hide. The door was slammed shut and locked. I leaned against the door, panting heavily. My heart was pounding violently. The rhythm was so fast it felt like it would jump out of my chest. Could it really be a ghost? Just as I was relieved that the thing hadn't caught up to me, and was about to call the police, that white ball appeared right in front of me. I leaned back, unable even to speak. No matter how bright its smile was, it still seemed eerie to me. I leaned back and couldn't even speak. But that pink ball kept getting closer, and even rubbed against my face a few times. The smooth, tender touch felt extremely real. My eyes widened in shock. My eyes rolled back, and I fainted. When I woke up again, it was the next day. I was lying on the cold floor of the bathroom. My posture was quite awkward. I was dazed for a few seconds, then remembered last night's events. I sat up abruptly and instantly regained my energy. I looked around but didn't see that white dumpling. Frowning, I silenced the still-ringing phone alarm. The strange thing was gone from the bathroom too, but I wasn't sure if it was still somewhere in the house. I stood up and grabbed the mop from the floor. Carefully, I opened the door and went out. Like a thief, I slowly scanned every corner of the room. 10 minutes later, I sat on the sofa, looked up at the ceiling again, and saw only a white wall with nothing unusual. I scratched my head. Where did that pink dumpling go? Was it just a hallucination from being drunk? He called again, saying it was time for work. I didn't think much more about it. I hurriedly got myself ready and hopped on my scooter. After work, I specifically bought some offerings, pasted them in the temple and prayed. Only then did I feel at ease. In the following days, I never saw that white dumpling again. Now I could be sure that it must have been a bad thought that came up when I was drunk. Just as I felt relieved, and lay back on the sofa to take a nap, the phone on the table suddenly rang. Before I even answered, my eyelids started twitching for no reason, a strange feeling, a bad premonition. The bad guys from the story Brother Yen told were here again. It was the voice of a child taken in by the orphanage. Hearing that, I immediately stood up and rushed to the orphanage gate. After the last encounter with those troublemakers, I was worried something might happen, so I had Xiaofu contact me immediately if he saw those people coming. By the time I arrived with the police, that group of ferocious thugs was already cursing loudly. Seeing that persuasion didn't work, angrily about to take action, a sleazy man grabbed my aunt's hand, trying to force her to press her fingerprint on a document. Stop! Hearing the voice, several men turned around to look, their eyes instantly showing panic. Those who tried to sneak away were quickly subdued. That man panicked, hurriedly let go of my aunt, but because he had struggled too violently just now, he ended up falling hard again. Unlucky, he couldn't steady himself and fell straight to the ground. Just before this group of bullies broke in, Aunt Xiao was organizing the teachers, preparing to loosen the soil of the garden the children had tended. Just done weeding. Just weeded. Tools were scattered messily on the ground. He fell, hitting the back of his head on a hoe. Blood gushed out instantly. The blinding red panicked everyone present. I quickly snapped out of it, rushed over and held him. Seeing Aunt Xiao close her eyes in my arms, I felt my breath blocked, crying but unable to make a sound. The ambulance arrived soon after. I followed the car to the hospital. Aunt Xiao was pushed into the operating room. I collapsed on the floor. My hands resting on the ground trembled. Aunt Xiao's daughter wasn't much better off. Seeing her mother hit her head on the royally monitor, blood kept pouring out. Her whole body was cold, tears streaming uncontrollably. Those who caused trouble were taken away by the police. We had no way of knowing what happened next. The other teachers stayed at the orphanage to calm the children. Now only the two of us were outside the operating room. With each passing second, our hearts grew tenser. An hour and a half later, the door to the operating room opened. Seeing the doctor's grave expression, both our hearts skipped a beat. "Doctor, how is my mother?" Aunt Shio's daughter stumbled forward. I quickly held her arm. Before she could fall, I looked at the doctor with worried eyes. The doctor let out a deep sigh. The brain hemorrhage was too extensive. The situation is not optimistic. The family must be mentally prepared. The operating room door closed again. I couldn't hold it anymore and knelt on the cold floor. My aunt's daughter was breathing rapidly. After hearing the news, she couldn't handle it and fainted. She was taken away by a nurse. Only I was left outside the operating room, dazed. Tears fell. My lips were tightly pressed together, trying to suppress the sound of sobbing. Time passed slowly. Even 1 minute felt like forever. I stared nervously at the sign on the operating room, hoping and fearing at the same time. I just wanted the headmistress to come out safely. But the doctor's words, just as I was about to lose control, when my vision blurred with tears, a voice rang out in my hazy mind, "Host." The sound of heavy sobbing stopped abruptly. In the haze, I saw a flash of white. Rubbed my eyes. My pupils instantly contracted. I couldn't believe it. Let me step back a bit. In front of me was that white glutinous rice ball I hadn't seen for days. I shook my head. The rice ball was still floating in the air. Then he floated in front of me. My face instantly turned pale. Seeing I was startled, the rice ball pouted. "Host partner, don't you remember me?" A familiar mechanical voice reached my ears. My eyes trembled. I looked at him in disbelief and asked, "Are you the system?" The white rice ball nodded. "Humph, I'm your little tauntaun." He seemed excited. "Looks like the host hasn't forgotten me." I hadn't snapped out of my shock yet. "You've taken shape." "Yeah, pretty impressive, right?" "He's already upgraded to level 5. He can finally stand tall." Look at that smug expression. I don't even feel like teasing him. With a wary look, "Why are you here?" My gut tells me, his appearance means nothing good. The system saw how dejected I was. "Don't you want to see me?" I ignored him. I heard some noise. I immediately sat up from the ground. The light in the operating room went out again. The door opened. This time was different from before. The doctor came out holding something in his hand. I made out the words on it. My vision blurred and I nearly lost my balance. It was a critical notice. The meaning behind it was dire and difficult. "Are you the patient's family?" I shook my head then nodded. Shio's mother and daughter had fainted. They hadn't signed yet. Only I could sign. It was urgent. I held the pen, but my hand kept trembling. Finally, I used my other hand to steady my wrist, and managed to write my name. The operating room door closed again. The red light came on. I leaned against the wall, weak, and collapsed to the floor. My legs had already gone numb. Tears of despair streamed down again. Fear consumed my heart. The headmistress, my mother, was the most important person to me. She was my warm haven. If she left me, I would completely lose my family. The system appeared before me. His voice was gentle. Only I could see and touch him. Seeing me so upset, the system sighed. He took my hand like a little adult, and said, "Host, how about a deal?" I instinctively looked at him. "What deal?" "If you're willing to return to that world, I can guarantee your headmistress, your mother, will come out safely." I froze, tears still in my eyes. My fingers slowly curled. I glanced at the operating room. No doubt the offer was tempting, but I had barely escaped that world, far away from that sick entanglement, and I had completed my mission. Why should I go back? Just then, wasn't Mu Wanting supposed to continue the plot with Lu Chen, a sweet romance? The system seemed to know my confusion. It let out a soft sigh. Its sesame-colored eyes narrowed in distress. A worried look filled its face. It said, "There are things you don't know. The female lead completely turned dark after you left. For half a year, she's been searching for you worldwide, determined to dig 3 feet under to find you. We've actually brainwashed the people in that world into believing you're dead. But she's the only one who doesn't buy it. She's convinced you're just hiding. The situation in Gangcheng hasn't been good these 6 months. Like it's shrouded in a black fog. She's issued a massive manhunt for you. Her temper has been getting worse. During this time, someone even got surgery to look like you and impersonated you. She directly, and she even went after the Gu family." Hearing, Gu family, I got agitated. Deep worry flashed in my eyes. The system continued, but she only interrogated them. Confirmed that the Gu family doesn't know your whereabouts. Then stopped. With his ability, not being able to find your trace in half a year, has already driven him crazy. Deeply immersed in anxiety. Long out of control. You also know she is the female lead of that world. Must follow the plot to fall in love with the male lead. The scene of their first formal encounter. Is Lu Chen going to the company for an interview? Accidentally spilling coffee on him. Poor and humble him. At a loss looking at the expensive white gauze dress being soiled. And that day at the company, that cup of coffee spilled on Lin Chenfeng. But Mu Wanning didn't even glance at Lu Chen. His willpower is terrifyingly strong, completely unaffected by the plot. The leader was helpless, could only manipulate the path to force him in front of her, trying to get the plot back on the right track. No matter how many chance encounters they created, he just didn't give Lu Chen a single glance, treated him like air. You must know this is a romance drama for the male and female leads, but the female lead completely ignored the male lead. The plot didn't develop at all. Lu Chen wasn't even a supporting male character in that world, at best a passerby. If the novel world doesn't have a male lead, this world will eventually collapse. Now their only hope is to send me back, whether it's a torturous love or anything else. To prevent cracks from causing the world to collapse, we must give the world a male lead, in order to maintain the balance of the novel world. Hearing this, I still felt confused, wondering what this had to do with me. What can I change by going back? The system tilted its head, and said with a straight face, of course it matters, because it was your appearance that caused the novel world to become abnormal. I interrupted it. Isn't that the responsibility of your leaders? Well, yes, our leaders were wrong, but he has already deeply reflected on it now. Today, this matter can only be solved if you go back. If I go back, can it return to normal? The system nodded hurriedly, looking at me with expectant eyes. Yes, agree to it quickly, my dear host. If I go to that world, can I still come back? I asked this question. The system fell silent. Avoiding my gaze meaningfully, I looked at the operating room door, my heart pounding. The hand that just signed the notice was still trembling. I understand. If the system can ensure Mother Dean comes out safely, it must have the ability to do so. But this price. I will never be able to see Mother Dean again. I will never be able to come back. Seeing my hesitation, the system closed its eyes. Then, scenes from inside the operating room appeared before my eyes. A surgeon was desperately trying to save her. The wound on her head had been treated properly, but the patient's consciousness remained blurred. I saw the doctor performing defibrillation. Once, twice, suddenly, the heart monitor let out a harsh sound. My breath stalled. The patient's blood pressure dropped. Oxygen saturation was insufficient. All data were slipping. The doctor's grim expression and the stifling atmosphere both revealed the crisis Shioma was facing at that moment. I couldn't bear the torment. Choking up, I said, I agree. I slid weakly down the wall to the floor. The contract appeared, and I signed it almost without looking. The system gathered its things and disappeared immediately. At this moment, my heart became calm, because I knew Shioma would survive. I waited another half hour. There was finally movement from the operating room. Shioma was transferred to the intensive care unit. At this point, Shioma's daughter had also woken up. The doctor said she was lucky. We finally snatched a life back from the hands of the King of Hell. I lowered my eyes, looking at Shioma in the ward through the glass. Her face was pale. Her head was wrapped like a zongzi. The doctor said her life was saved, but she still needs to be observed for 3 days, to be considered completely out of danger. This result was not bad. I let out a sigh, though my nose was a bit sore. A thin layer of mist covered the glass in front of me. A week later, Shioma was transferred to a general ward. Her spirits looked much better. Her lips and face had also regained their rosy glow. She leaned against the headboard, watching me peel an apple, while I looked preoccupied. What happened? Tell me about it. She stroked. The gentle touch on my head made me feel nostalgic. I pretended to smile as if nothing was wrong. It's just that Xiao Fu was adopted by a kind person. This makes me a bit reluctant to let go. Mentioning this, Shioma sighed. Ailing has checked it out. This family is reliable. The family conditions are not bad, and they are very loving. Xiao Fu has a cheerful personality and is likable. Following them, he shouldn't suffer. I know it's a good family. It was the system that helped find them. I had made 3 conditions at the time. One of them was to help Xiao Fu find suitable adopters. The second was to protect the orphanage. That is Shilma's hard work and the children's home. As for the third one, I looked at Shilma and exhorted her, you can rest assured from now on. Just leave the orphanage affairs to Ailing. She is smart and capable. When you are not at the orphanage, she is a steady guardian. I think you should enjoy your life now. Shilma has reached retirement age. The things entrusted to Ailing were almost all clearly explained. Those days I also saw that girl's ability to handle matters. Finally, I can rest easy. Shilma held my hand and smiled. Then I'll just wait for Gu Shiyan to get married and have kids, and for me to hold my great-grandchild. My eyes reddened. I choked up as the ward door closed. I stepped into a circle of light. Everything became blurred. Tears from the corners of my eyes fell onto the ground. The third condition was to erase all memories of me from everyone's minds, so no one would be in pain. Returning to that white room again, I felt down, but I also knew there was nothing I could do. If you want to gain something, you have to pay the price. Host, you are about to enter the world of the novel. I raised my head, my fingertips trembling slightly. I asked a bit nervously, do I have to do missions there too, like finding good sensors or something? The system said with a straight face, don't worry. Once you go, you will completely become Gu Shiyan in the novel world, no longer bound by anything. You can follow the natural course of life, old age, sickness, and death. So, host, enjoy your new life. Of course, as long as I can avoid the main female lead. I always feel like it is deceiving me. The space-time gate has opened. I looked at the door emitting white light before me, clenched my fists and closed my eyes. Anyway, this is the only way. I stepped forward, resigning myself to fate. Half a minute later, I sensed the existence of food. I opened my eyes and found it pitch black all around. I fell onto a large black bed. Looking around, the room atmosphere was stifling. Even the moonlight seemed gloomy. Just as I wondered why the layout was so familiar, I suddenly heard a slight movement. I turned my head abruptly. My eyes widened instantly, shoulders trembling slightly. A woman is approaching step by step. Her face is unclear, exuding a chilling, saintly light. The curtains flutter in the wind, revealing a faint moonlight. I see his long, narrow, crimson eyes, bloodshot eyes, emitting a fierce aura, almost staring straight through me. I sit up halfway in bed, sweat rolling down my forehead, gasping for air, looking at the unfamiliar surroundings, stunned, yet feeling a sense of relief. My intense heartbeat gradually calms down. I call out to the system with annoyance. The white rice ball drifts over slowly, blinking its eyes guiltily. I glare at him and ask, are you crazy? Faced with my questioning, the system shakes its head, looking very innocent, saying, I'm not crazy. This expression makes me so angry my head feels like it's smoking. If you're not crazy, why did you put me in Mu Wanning's room? Are you trying to see if I can die fast enough? Playing so dangerously. Heaven knows what I felt the moment I saw Mu Wanning. The chill radiating from him almost froze me to death. My back is still wet now. It has been half a year. His gaze has grown even colder. When I met his bone-chilling eyes, I almost peed myself in fear. Recalling his gaze, my fingertips started trembling and turned cold. My hollow gaze gradually focused. Instantly, his eyes were drenched in blood red. His posture was elegant yet wrapped in a bone-chilling aura. I slumped on the bed with lingering fear. The system flew blankly beside me, chuckling, oops. My mistake, my mistake. My professional skills have declined. Don't be angry, Vice Host. He is especially patient with me, mainly because he feels guilty. This is all the chance he has to help the heroine. The male lead has arrived. He better not go crazy and destroy the world again. I can't forget the scene of seeing Mu Wanning just now. Furrowing my brow, filled with worry, system. Now that I'm back, will the world return to normal? Yes. Then Mu Wanning shouldn't give me trouble, right? He should be following the plot with Lu Qin now, right? The system looks away, not daring to meet my eyes. Vaguely saying, I suppose so. What do you mean by suppose? It means he should be following the plot. He shouldn't be bothering you. I gulp. Touching my back. It's cold, a sudden chill sets in. I watch the light and shadow outside the window fade, starting to think. I abandoned Mu Wanning. I played with Mu Wanning's feelings. I ran away at the wedding, and said I'd rather die than return to him. Every one of them is a capital offense. I close my eyes in despair. It's over. A few minutes later, the system sees me leaning out, looking down toward hell, muttering to myself, estimated 3 meters. It doesn't seem like enough to kill me. Should I climb another floor? The system freezes, hurriedly persuading me, vice host. We must cherish our lives. We can't just give up on the opportunity to live. Even with his own thoughts, he was stunned. Who thinks about jumping off a building right after logging in? I slowly turn my head to look at the system floating in front of me, asking a sincere question, can you make me invisible? The system shakes its head, not at all. He isn't that powerful. Not letting me die. Are you just waiting for me to die? I think of that woman's twisted and ruthless methods. I really want to scream. For traitors, it's a bullet to the head. What about me? Will he let me go? The system sees my worried face, comforting me. Maybe the heroine won't make things difficult for you. You have to look on the bright side, right? With his personality of holding a grudge for everything, how could he let go of someone who played with his feelings and insulted him, making him lose all face? Do you think Mu Wanning is a philanthropist? His bones are full of ruthlessness. How could he be kind-hearted? I think of Mu Wanning still sparing no effort to find my whereabouts. I feel terrible. It's been half a year. If he can't find me, just forget it. Wouldn't it be better if he just assumed I was dead? Why be obsessed with a scumbag who abandoned him? If I get caught by him, I will definitely face a life of misery. I can't resist his methods at all. Thinking of this, I shudder, blinking at the system, sincerely suggesting, how about you let him have his way? Faced with my plea, the system turns around, opens the TV drama with that classic line, there is no possibility of help. My hanging heart finally dies, watching the time on the clock slowly pass. I lean against the wall and sigh for the 229th time today. I get up, open the closet, and take out pajamas. The place I'm staying is a dense forest, surrounded by towering trees. The 3-story house is tightly covered by dense branches. It's remote here too. As long as no one enters the forest on purpose, the house won't be easily discovered. Ding dong, the doorbell rings. I put down the hairdryer. With half-dried hair, I open the door. He is bowing his head. A white plastic bag comes into view. It's raining outside. Water droplets are clinging to the bag. My gaze moves upward. The hand holding the bag is soft and delicate, shining with a faint luster. The fingertip lightly grazes a drop. The water droplet is slightly pink, looking exceptionally alluring. I am suddenly speechless. My tightly clenched fingertips tremble slightly. My pupils contract. My whole body is filled with deep fear. The woman right in front of me has black eyes flickering with insanity. With a seductive smile at the corner of her lips, she said in a low voice, Gu Shiyan, long time no see. My heart skipped a beat. Seeing him, I felt only endless bitterness in my heart. I could feel the dangerous aura erupting from him. He stood steadily at the doorway, in no rush at all, deadlocked with me, being stared at like this by him. I felt like I couldn't breathe properly. Mu Wanning chuckled softly. I didn't even dare to look up, just staring at my curled-up toes. I knew I couldn't stop his assertiveness at all. Suddenly, Mu Wanning grabbed my hand. The familiar scent of women's perfume enveloped me overwhelmingly, like being dragged into darkness. Feeling that softness shrouded in the dark. Her fingertips were not warm. In the hot weather, they felt abnormally cold. I was pulled into her embrace, my whole head buried in her chest. She brought an aura of suffocation, wrapping me tightly. I could feel the anger she had been accumulating bit by bit. Mu Wanning looked down at me, her cold eyes fixed on my profile. Why aren't you speaking? Gu Shiyan, aren't you happy to see me? The arms wrapped around my head tightened abruptly. The distance between us closed in seamlessly. An intense sense of suffocation, accompanied by her sinister questioning. She didn't ask why I ran away, nor did she ask where I had been for the past 6 months. Instead, easily, and with a hint of threat, she leaned down close to my ear. Facing her interrogation, my lips parted slightly, but I didn't know what to say. In fact, I didn't even have the heart to blame the system for leaking my location. The person I feared was right in front of me, and so close. I didn't know what she actually wanted to do. I could only say weakly, I'm sorry. My apology wouldn't earn me the slightest mercy. A cold laugh sounded above my head. I stopped moving, waiting for the final outcome. Bang! The dark red door closed in front of my eyes. At this moment, she let me go. I looked back. and happened to catch the system watching the show. Before I could send a pleading look, the system's white figure fluttered a few times and vanished, mercilessly leaving me to face this situation alone. I had no time to be angry at it. I saw Mu Wanning standing at the door, her slender fingers beginning to undo her red dress. This scene was all too familiar. I didn't need to guess what she wanted to do, but there was no desire in her eyes, only a chilling glare shining from the shadows, staring fixedly at me, making the air around me feel increasingly narrow and stifling. I still held a sliver of hope that I could run away immediately, but in an instant, that fair, delicate wrist had gripped my throat. I knelt halfway, turning my head to look back. The curtains swayed, blown by the wind. The sky outside was gradually darkening. Mu Wanning looked down at me, bringing a sense of oppression and seduction. Hot as she took off her last piece of clothing, her delicate, snow-white body appeared before my eyes. She leaned over and approached slowly. Her cold fingertips reached for the buttons of my shirt. Her bewitching red lips pressed against my throat. My shirt had already been undone by her. The woman's kiss landed on the Adam's apple she was obsessed with. In an instant, those eyes were staring dead at me, as if afraid I would disappear if she blinked. I knew any man would find this unbearable, yet I suppressed that surging, burning desire. Looking at her with dazed but clear eyes, I whispered, pleading, Mu Wanning, don't do this. Can you let me go first? Seeing that I finally spoke, she pulled her bewitching red lips away from my throat. She moved close to my nose, leaving only a finger's distance. Our warm breaths washed over each other's faces. Seeing her stop, I felt as if I saw a glimmer of hope. My Adam's apple bobbed as I swallowed. I looked up at her, and murmured in my usual tone, Wanning. But I didn't know how to finish the rest of my sentence. She stared straight at me, seeing me mumble and then fall silent. She lowered her head. Her tongue darted out to entwine with mine instantly. She grabbed my chin to keep me from moving, while one hand held the back of my head. Hot, endless breaths were swallowed in between. Inside this small room, a wild scene was playing out. For a long time, just when I thought I was about to suffocate, the woman finally let me go. I collapsed to the floor, out of control, gasping for breath, gasping for air, my neck covered in damp sweat. I knew I was still in danger. Seeing Mu Wanning pull back a little, I immediately propped myself up, wanting to run. I couldn't figure out how Mu Wanning found me so quickly. It really made no sense, but I knew that if I fell into her hands, I wouldn't die, but I would be tortured until I was half dead, especially since she didn't ask why I ran away. The more silent she was, the more uneasy I felt. I was afraid she had some other sinister trick up her sleeve. Now that I had a moment of freedom, I foolishly tried to make one last effort, but what was the point? I was like a dog struggling in its final throes. Before me, casting a shadow over me, was a ruthless beast of a woman. We were destined to fight until the bitter end. Seeing me trying to run again, Mu Wanning's eyes darkened. She reached out, grabbed my ankle, and dragged me toward the bed. Traces were left behind on the floor as I was dragged. She looked annoyed, a violent aura filling the room. Her other hand clamped tightly around my throat. This position made me yelp in pain. My lips were sealed by hers. Mu Wanning looked at me mercilessly, her eyes flashing with pathological obsession and infatuation. Sweat beads from her forehead trickled down her profile to her nose. Her hair was also soaked. She panted, ignoring my pleas, as if she wanted to unleash all the rage she'd bottled up for half a year. There wasn't a trace of genuine anger in her eyes, only an overwhelming, crushing desire to possess me. Over and over again, that desire to possess. As if I could only then perceive that I am real. A long time passed. The frequency of the swaying curtains gradually slowed down. He released his hand from the curtain, and lay down beside me. The white fluorescent light made the floor exceptionally bright. In a daze, I didn't know how much time had passed. I couldn't help it and fell into a deep sleep. When I woke up again, I pulled my feet back. The cold touch and the feeling of falling were quite uncomfortable. I opened my still blurry eyes. He gently brushed through my hair. His fiery gaze lingered on my face. His eyes revealed a sickly directness. His seductive red lips curved into a slight arc. Du Shiyan, you can't escape. Wait until the moon's silhouette faded. Mu Wanning held me tightly again, as if he wanted to merge me and him into one. He buried his face in my neck, in a very intimate posture. He was rarely feeling my existence. When I woke up again, it was already the next evening. My whole body felt weak. I sat up halfway against the headboard. Lifting my eyes, I could see a mirror opposite. This was in the middle of the night. The mirror brought in wasn't as shiny anymore. A flash of a memory surfaced in my mind. My hands pressed against the mirror. After last night's storm, even a strong body would become weak. That mirror still had traces on it. Looking down at the bite marks covering my body, some shallow, some deep, especially around my neck, covered densely with hickeys. I felt as if I had gone through a turmoil, and I had no power to resist. As I moved my leg, the chain on my ankle also rattled. My eyes widened. I stared at the thing on my ankle in disbelief. I couldn't pull it off even with force. Mu Wanning, are you crazy? Why are you locking me up? I'm not a prisoner. I was forced to be locked here. On this small bed. The air was filled with a thick scent. I kicked my legs in anger. A feeling of weakness surged. Felt as if my body had been hollowed out. I let out a cry of pain. My toes curled up. Looking up, I could only see my disheveled appearance in the mirror. Looking like such a mess after being tortured, covered in bite marks, and ruthlessly restrained by chains. I was so angry I wanted to curse. Mu Wanning is truly despicable. I glanced at the living room outside. I didn't see his figure, but who knows where he might be standing. Now that I'm awake, what perverted things will he do again? Thinking of this, I shuddered. My body temperature gradually dropped. I couldn't reach the closet, and I only had this shirt on. System. Upon my calling, the system popped out and appeared before me. As soon as it opened its eyes, it saw the fire in mine. Seeing me looking like I wanted to kill someone, it gave a flattering smile. You still have the face to smile. You kept saying Mu Wanning wouldn't be this fast. I ran into him the moment I went to get takeout. Can Mu Wanning fly? And you, system, cheating me is one thing. Watching me get tortured and not even helping, just disappearing like that, cold and heartless. I have nowhere to vent my anger. Locked in bed like a prisoner. Who did I provoke? It was he who told me to torture Mu Wanning. It was he who told me to run away. It was he who told me to come back. Damn it, I should really let Mu Wanning lock him up. The system felt guilty. It immediately stopped smiling. I glared at it. My anger intensified within me. I felt so frustrated. Now, quickly, take me away from here. The system extended a white claw to scratch its head. This is really hard to resolve. Because I can't, oh, sorry. Seeing its troubled expression, my heart went cold. This system won't help me. I'll be ruined here sooner or later. System, you wouldn't be this ruthless. Where is your conscience? The white dumpling blinked, touched its chest, looking very innocent. I don't have a heart. It's all complex parts. I lowered my head and looked at the chains again, and glanced at the bed. My heart was dead. Am I going to spend the rest of my life like this? Then I might as well just die. Anyway, I can't go back to the real world. Wait, host, please don't have such dangerous thoughts. Once you commit suicide, the previous promises in the real world will be voided. The result of that would be, leaving will be in vain. So I can't even die. And I've been caught by a Yandra. How am I supposed to live in the future? Could there be a turning point? I frowned. Thinking back carefully to what I said on the day I tried to escape the wedding. I said I was just playing around. That I was bored and didn't want him anymore. Said he was annoying and not fun. And even mocked his deep affection. Truly crushed a sincere heart. Trampling it on the ground, I didn't think. It seems there's no room for redemption. I'm really finished. Just as I was thinking about salvation, and didn't know what to do. A sound came from outside. The door seemed to open, and then closed again. My body stiffened instantly. The sound outside became clearer. It was the sound of high heels. I watched the door nervously. The next second, a tall figure was projected onto the floor. Then, the woman's beautiful face came into view. She stood at the door, gazing at me quietly. The chilling gaze was bone-cold, sizing me up inch by inch. Finally, it locked onto my eyes, leaving me nowhere to run. Mu Wanning strode forward with her long legs, holding a tube of ointment in her hand. Her high heels clicked softly against the floor, yet it felt suffocatingly heavy in my chest. The terror of last night was still fresh in my memory. Suddenly, my ankle was gripped by her slender hand. Her sharp gaze met mine. My heart thundered like a drum. She stared at me for several seconds, then shifted her gaze to my body beneath the shirt. A shadow clouded her eyes. Just as I nervously thought she would continue to torture me, the woman simply sat on the edge of the bed. and gently placed my ankle on her lap. She stared at the marks torn into my ankle, and unscrewed the ointment. A milky liquid slowly flowed out. She applied it with her fingertips, her movements gentle but not exactly comfortable. Since she entered, my nerves had been on edge. The system, taking advantage of Mu Wanning being unable to see it, flew to her shoulder to get the best view. It had spent the whole night in the dark room, and now in the daylight, it wanted to enjoy the show. I tilted my head to meet its gaze. Are you kidding me? I'm in deep trouble, and it's acting so carefree. Those chubby little legs were swinging about. Given my current situation, does this system feel no guilt at all? Though, thanks to the system, when facing Mu Wanning, I felt a lot less suppressed. Her application stopped. My heart trembled involuntarily. Mu Wanning scrutinized the marks on my ankle. She lowered her head, lost in thought. The silence was even more terrifying. I couldn't guess her next move. Even my breathing felt cautious. My eyes were full of wariness. Suddenly, her red lips parted. Her cold voice was low and deep. If you try to run again, I'll break these legs. You won't need to walk anyway. She stopped there, lifted her eyes to look at me, a faint arc curling on the corner of her lips. Perhaps I should make these legs into specimens. I was terrified. My face turned pale, and I tried to pull back my trapped leg. Seeing my movement, the woman increased her grip. Seeing me in pain, she showed no signs of softening. She just kept rubbing with her fingertips, talking to herself. I'll place them in the display room I prepared for the experiment. No one else will see them, just for me to admire. How about that? She tilted her head and looked at me, seeing the fear in my heart clearly. I understood. She was definitely capable of doing what she said, as long as she wanted to, but I didn't want to. As Mu Wanning's voice fell, even the system crouching on her shoulder was startled. Is she really this ruthless? It hurriedly flapped its arms and flew toward the window, getting far away from this dangerous area. I turned my head to look at it, my lungs about to burst with rage. This dumpling deserves to be torn to pieces. Suddenly, my chin hurt, grabbed by the woman's other hand. Seeing me distracted, Mu Wanning's expression turned as dark as ink, as if soaked in a dense, dark ocean, made chilling by the moonlight. At the same time, I felt the hand wandering between my legs tighten suddenly. Her palm gripped my lower body tightly. My eyes widened instantly, looking at her in disbelief. This woman played such a dirty trick. It hurts. The woman gripped me even harder. Her gaze stayed fixed on me, not letting go for even a second. Instantly, my forehead broke out in a cold sweat. I reached out to pull at the hem of her skirt, begging in pain, trying to feed her some chicken soup for the soul like before, to make her soften her heart. Wanning, please let go, don't. What I said last time was just a joke. Don't take it seriously. Mu Wanning remained unmoved. I gritted my teeth, enduring it to the limit. I didn't even know what I was saying. I could only let her do as she pleased. Facing this morbid, unstable Mu Wanning, I always felt that all my little thoughts were being seen through at a glance. Mu Wanning lowered her head. The hand that was touching me finally let go. I let out a sigh of relief, feeling instantly unburdened. The corners of her eyes twitched slightly, and a soft chuckle escaped her lips. Let you go so you can keep running. I felt the hand on my neck tighten gradually. I was forced to look up at her, still treating me like a fool. The woman raised her voice, her angry voice echoing in my ears, but the end of her sentence was hoarse. Her eyes showed a hint of crimson, adding a touch of seduction to her beautiful features. I could clearly feel the crazy flames within the woman, rolling and burning in her pupils, as if wanting to reduce me to ashes. I was wrong. No matter what I say, it can't make up for the damage I've caused you. But aside from apologizing, it seems I am powerless. Facing my guilt, Wanning remained completely unmoved. She threw herself into my arms, feeling the scent on my body, feeling my breathing and heartbeat, as if only this way could I exist in her world. The living, breathing me had been retrieved by her, just as I felt a crushing pain in my chest. In a trance, I felt a chill on my body. The sound of fabric tearing echoed in the air. I turned my head in terror. White cloth slipped and fell before my eyes, without giving me any time to react. My hands were pinned above my head. It was that familiar scene again. Just as I wanted to close my eyes and give up, I faintly heard a crisp, jingling sound. Sensing danger, I forced open my weary eyelids. I saw the woman holding a silver chain in her hand. 2 bells hung at short intervals along it. She flicked her fingers and shook it gently. The clinking sound was full of ambiguity. Muir was frozen beside me, a cold touch wrapped around my waist. There were chains on my feet. There were bells around my waist. I desperately wanted to escape the presence behind me. As soon as I moved, my chin was gripped. The woman licked her lips and whispered, "Don't move. Shi Yen, don't resist, continue." Entangled and lingering. The sound of bells echoed in the room. In a daze, I seemed to see tears hanging at the corner of the woman's eyes, blurring that mole. Another night of madness. I lay on the bed, barely breathing. I couldn't even lift my eyelids, just subconsciously repeating what the woman whispered in my ear just now. So Shi Yen won't run away anymore, only loves Mu Wanning. The bathroom door was opened. A wave of heat hit my face. The woman was wrapped in a bath towel, enveloped in the steam. Mu Wanning opened the balcony door. Fresh air rushed in, surrounded by a gloomy forest. Pitch black, with no light to be seen, even though it is a place where few people tread. Yet I would rather be in these conditions. The outcome, living for half a year in the deep mountains without even surveillance, than to see him. I wonder what scenes he imagined when he would see me again. He must be furious, wanting nothing more than to strangle me, for abandoning him, and even faking my death to escape him. Over these 6 months, he searched through many cities, but found no trace of me. Many people said my situation was grim. Even if a person crawled out of the lake, it would always leave some tracks. Yet after searching for so long, there was still no news. Most of them told him to face reality, but he didn't believe this little liar was playing around. She must be hiding somewhere. He just loved to see him anxious, and the way he went crazy for him. But now he has found me. He will surely make me experience how he transformed into a complete madman.